And my dumb ass is down here without all I got is a karate chop. I ain't got nothing. So yeah, that was it. I was like, fuck this. I'm not going in the ocean ever again.
If you take it home, your entire house is going to smell like that.
That's what I want.
Surplus and cat piss.
That's all I need.
Yeah, I'm not happy with the cats roaming around in there because I've seen some pretty good pieces that have been ruined.
Like from what?
Just from cat piss and cat turds. Like I've pulled a poncho out that's had like, you pull it out and flick it and cat turds go flying off into the... I'm like, man, I can't use that.
He said there was possums in there too.
Maybe. Yeah.
And raccoons.
Spray.
Huh?
It's just a good spray off.
No, man. Sometimes you can't get cat piss out of things.
Cats like... Sir, remember those ghillie suits that were at the old shop?
Oh, yeah.
Dwayne had that fucking cat, and that thing would piss. If there was a rifle case left open, the cat would always piss on that fucking pick-apart foam shit. And once that shit smells like piss, it always smells like piss.
I wonder if he peed on it because it would stay there longer.
I don't know. I think it's just
Maybe.
something about...
I mean, they like marking their territory.
And those ghillie suits had been out, like, in the field, in Camp Pendleton and shit, so who knows what smell that cat liked. What animals... So, no birds.
I'm scared of all birds.
What about parakeets, like budgies?
I'm okay with that.
So we can have a free flight with like 1,000 parakeets?
Yeah, if I can flick it and it dies, I'm good.
It won't... Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really kill a parakeet with a flick, but...
You like hummingbirds?
Yeah.
You good with monkeys?
Believe it or not, I'm better with monkeys than I am with almost anything.
So if I get a monkey this weekend...
I'd be cool with it.
He can just chill right here in the corner.
As long as it's not
God.
chimpanzee, but
You can't have... Those are apes. Those are tailless monkeys. You can't have those.
But yeah, I can do like spider monkey things, like those little...
Don't encourage him. Don't encourage him.
Spider monkeys are fucking wild. You see them ride skateboards?
Yeah.
This fucking room will smell like a goddamn zoo. Don't encourage him. There'll be monkeys and fucking flying giraffes and all kinds of crazy shit in here.
I encourage a monkey.
Don't encourage him. No.
You have a cat and a dog?
Mhm.
So you're good with wolves.
I'd be fantastic with a hyena or wolf.
You know a hyena is more cat than dog.
Yeah, I'm good with a hyena.
You know a hyena can change sex.
I'm good with them.
What about... So you're good with lions and tigers?
No.
Bobcat?
How big we talking? Bobcats get what, 40 pounds?
50? Yeah, male gets 40 pounds.
I don't like that.
Carpathian lynx, he'll get 90 pounds.
Listen.
What if he just sat right next? He'd be as tall as you. If like you sitting in that chair, you just turn your head and his head would be like asleep on your shoulder.
I don't know what the obsession is with dangerous animals.
Birds aren't dangerous.
Have you ever seen the movie Birds?
Yeah.
Your entire life has been dangerous. What are you talking about?
It was totally made up scenario.
I put myself in that danger.
It was totally made up scenario.
It's not about dangerous animals. Name some animals that aren't dangerous that are fucking cool. You don't want to have a fucking cow.
A red panda. Those are tiny.
They're very dangerous.
You want to?
Yeah, they have huge claws.
You want to hear a thing? You want to hear a thing? When you think about the movie The Birds, during the Pacific Theater campaign that the Marines were so successful in World War II, there was this idea that the Japanese were using local birds to send messages to each other.
They were. We were.
There's this idea that they were using local birds to send. So in just a short period of time, the United States Marine Corps decimated the entire bird population in the Pacific Theater.
They issued shotguns.
Just by killing every fucking bird they saw.
The whole fucking bird population is still fucked up.
Do you know what you don't see? You know what you don't see once in the movie Birds? Rednecks with shotguns. That movie would have lasted 15 minutes. There would have been a bunch of rednecks in trucks with shotguns, and there would be no more birds in Seaside Bay Heights, wherever that was filmed at.
Look at it this way. Yesterday, I'm at Brandon's.
Yeah, you're at Brandon's.
A bird comes 90 miles per hour and slams into the glass door and kills itself.
Okay, and at no point were you in danger.
But I'm just saying, if you're gonna do that, I don't.
Well, what do you think was going to happen when you put all those tattoos on yourself?
I don't know. I thought I'd be
Weird
so
shit-
aggressive that birds.
Weird shit's attracted to you.
It's weird that
He was probably trying to carry Brandon away.
Can we hypnotize you? Can we hypnotize you and find out why you have this? Well, I think we need to regress into your childhood and figure out what this bird. I feel like, you know what? This is what I think. I think that you got in trouble as a child. You got in trouble. Your mom had what? You know, remember how in the 20s they used to have those huge bird cages in their house, and they would have like a fucking.
I see them all the time.
Yeah. And your mom made you time out in the bird cage. So that's what happened, isn't it?
That's very close to like
and those birds
when they would take people that got caught for little crimes. They'd put them in a cage and hoist them up in the castle until the crows ate all the skin
I
off.
think it's because my other older brother, weren't scared of anything, so they would grab wild animals, bring them home, and they would attack me or something.
Didn't
I
attack
didn't want to
you.
be around them. My brother would chase me.
Your brothers attacked you.
Yeah.
The bird didn't.
But like my brother would chase me with snakes. He would chase me with turtles.
But you're not afraid of snakes and turtles. You're afraid specifically of birds.
Deathly afraid of snakes.
Turtles.
Okay.
We said no turtles.
And then everything goes below.
There's snakes everywhere here, bro.
Jesus, Indy.
Yeah, I know, and that's why.
What'd you call him?
Indy.
Why?
Because Indy's afraid of snakes.
Oh, Indiana Jones.
Yeah, Indy.
I thought
one of the most
negligent
badass
discharge.
dudes in the world afraid of snakes.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason. But again, if you watch the trilogy, you know why.
Oh, I know why.
Because when he was a kid, he wasn't afraid of snakes.
But guess what?
Something happened. Something traumatized him. And so now he's afraid of snakes.
There's something about you guys not caring about things that just violently attack you for no reason.
But you do know that we would. But you know that we would never fuck with you with them.
Oh, I don't even care if you do. I'm okay.
You've
Like
never
right
seen
now,
anybody attacked by a bird.
No. But
Yeah.
like,
I saw a little kid get stomped by a cassowary the other day.
Yeah, but that's
Did I send it to you?
The cassowary's a dinosaur.
So I think they're in like New Zealand or somewhere. And there's a carport. There's a car. They're clearly at their house looking out in the driveway. And there's a cassowary.
He's lucky.
Huh?
He's lucky he didn't get killed.
Yeah. So there's a man and woman, and she's like, cassowary, cassowary, and it kind of looks at her, and then turns around, and you hear a kid start screaming, and you see the bird run, and then it cuts like it came far enough over in the ring camera, the body or the torso or whatever kind of rolled enough, and I don't know what it did. I think it just knocked this little girl down, but she is lucky.
Yeah, fucking real lucky.
But like right now, we can go in and I can touch the snake. Like that snake you caught in the box, not this one, but the other one, king snake or whatever. I touched it while you're holding it. I can touch snakes.
That was the first time you ever touched a snake, right?
You won't go up there and touch one of the baby chickens?
I'm pretty. I don't like chickens. I don't like birds. I don't like things with beaks. But
Oh God.
I like. But yeah, I like if you told me, hey, you got to touch this snake, I'll touch this snake.
Are you scared of anything?
I'm sure I am.
But I mean, is there like a specific animal that you're like?
I'm not scared of them, but I don't like spiders. You notice I've never kept spiders or scorpions and shit. That's really where the money's at. If you want to make easy money, it's spiders.
I have a unhealthy, since Australia, I have a very unhealthy.
Well, everything in Australia is venomous.
But I have an unhealthy fear of sharks. Right? It's a totally unhealthy fear of sharks, and it just happened. It was one of those things that happened just like that. Like I didn't even see a shark.
So you won't swim in the ocean? Kind of?
Fuck no.
No?
The damn shark it's in my brain.
You know, a lot of people get eaten where the shark nets are.
Yeah.
Well, they don't get eaten, but they get bit in the protected
Well, sharks
area.
that's the other thing too. Sharks don't really want to eat people.
Sharks don't really read the sign that say no sharks.
Usually when they bite, they let go because they're like, ooh, this tastes like shit.
Immediately let go.
Yeah. I did a dive in Australia. I did the Ungali dive, it's a 90-foot dive, and it's beautiful. You can, Australia is just like people think. You can see forever in the water, and the current, the way that ship is, at least when we were there, the current just drags you right across the ship. So you're just kind of like floating, looking at the wreck and shit, and I'm looking at the wreck, and for some reason I was like, let me look. So I'm looking in the ocean. And I see these fucking sunfish, and these sunfish are huge. Like they had to have been 40 feet tall. And I'm looking at these fish, and you can see a bunch of them out there. You can see them out there, and I'm looking at them.
They scatter.
No, I just, in my head, again, it's your head that makes this stuff up. In my head, I was like, holy shit, that's just food. That's all it is. That's just food swimming around here that big. And my dumb ass is down here without, all I got is a karate chop. I ain't got nothing. So, yeah, that was it. I was like, fuck this. I'm not going in the ocean ever again.
You didn't have a knife or anything with you?
No, it was a... You know,
like
it was
a package.
Yeah, it was a tourist. It was a tourist thing.
Is it hookah? Is it like surface supply, or you had tanks?
We had tanks.
Just normal air.
Yeah, normal air.
So you weren't down 30 minutes? If that.
Yeah, it wasn't even that because it was 90 feet. We had 2 stops on the way back up.
Yeah, that sucks.
So
Did you not scare of sharks like when you're scuba diving?
We tried to catch sharks a lot. Matt Chartel and Mike Chartel and me and Lance will tell you. We'd go dive like hundreds and hundreds of hours of dive time. We would go almost every night. We'd go to La Jolla, to like the children's pool, the marine room, the cove, several, because they had good parking lots and you could just walk to the dive. So night diving, completely different than day diving. Everything is just out. It's not hiding, and your lights just illuminate. It looks like a fucking aquarium, man. It's just incredible. And we did a lot of times see sharks. I never saw like a real like man-eating shark. We'd see like leopard sharks, and there's some leopard sharks, nurse sharks, angel sharks, which look like the guitar fish. And then there were some bigger sharks. Like we always swam towards the sharks, and anytime I thought I'm gonna grab this shark, it would just disappear. Like I never got close enough. We caught like a bunch of baby sharks. We used to catch them just out in the shallow water and bring them ashore and show the girls at the marine room, which is surely there's no statute of limitation. I'm sure that's expired. It's a ecological reserve. And we always let them go, but we did bring them ashore so that people could see them. You could dive, you'd go out second buoy maybe, and you'd be about 35, 40 feet, and you'd see this abyss, and it's the trench out there. And it's like 3,500 Marianas Trench, I think is what it's called. But you would look at it, and it literally looks like somebody made a retaining wall. You can see, it looks like bricks and layers of sediment of the earth. And it looks like there used to be no ocean there, and men made that fucking wall there. It's wild. And as soon as you get over that trench, like you can still be in 30 feet of water, but it drops down really quick. I've been down into it to 100 feet. And it gets super cold. Even when you're just sitting there, you'll be at 30 feet of water, super warm, middle of summer, and you'll be over here and you're like, I do not have enough wetsuit for this shit. Because we're out there in like 3 mil suits and stuff. But it's beautiful, man. Whole nother world. And I've never dove like Belize or, Cozumel. None of those like fancy, blue water, clear water dive site stuff. I've always just, we'd go diving if visibility was 3 feet. I'm like, shit, we can see something 3 feet away. We were lucky to have, 20, 30 feet visibility out there in California.
No, there's things out there that just eat you.
Yeah, I'm not into that.
Like, I don't think I would go camping I don't think you could get me camping in a tent in Africa.
No, they call that bait.
Because, again, there's
That's
things
bait.
out there that are
There's
just
motherfuckers camping in trucks in Africa that still get fucked up.
There's things out there that are just like, maybe.
There's a lot of videos of dudes out hunting, though, where they're on these platforms in these trees in the middle, and they wake up and there's a fucking leopard right next to them.
Have you seen the video? Could be totally fake. Could be 100% fake. But it's been going around about... Is it Bill Gates? It's some rich dude who was flying his helicopter in
it's bullshit.
With the rhinos?
So, you know where they say it is, right? Temecula. And then they said, I've seen Temecula.
Yeah, the vegetation doesn't look like Temecula.
And then I've seen Hollywood Heights, Hollywood Hills, right? But those videos all say they don't know how this herd of rhinos got here. I only saw 2, right? I saw a baby and a mother. And then all the videos say it is believed that the cartels pushed them across the border. Bitch, you're like fucking 400 miles from the fucking border. Like, those fucking rhinos didn't get through San Diego and Camp Pendleton and fucking Miramar.
Yeah.
I don't
It'd
believe
be
it's true.
It'd be cool.
It would be cool. It would be very cool. You can get a pygmy hippopotamus. We can have those.
Yeah, I mean,
It's neat. I mean, it'll still bite your arm off.
yeah. Nah.
That's Smiley's dream animal.
Why?
I don't know why, but he fucking just loves pygmy hippopotamuses
Don't hippos kill more people
Yes.
in Africa than anything
Yeah.
else. Yeah,
Wait, only because, again, you think
because
about
people do. They're in their fucking swimming hole.
well,
They're fast on ground too.
You think people look at hippos and elephants, and they think
the
like
zoo.
the
They think
zoo,
of the
but they
circus.
also think Disney, right? They think, oh, it's an elephant. It's not going to fucking stomp my guts out because it's protecting its child. And the other thing is, so people get closer, right? They get closer. Same thing with the hippos. They get close to the hippos, not realizing that a hippo can move 28 miles an hour on the ground and underwater.
35.
So
Ostriches
Like
do
if-
35 also.
you look at, when you get a chance, just look up hippos in the water in like Africa.
There's
right?
a great interview with a dude that was a National Geographic videographer, a photographer at the time. He was in the water and he got attacked. He got bit, and he's missing 30% of his fucking abdomen, where a hippo fucking bit it out of him.
But there's these dudes in this boat. They're full on, like they're hauling ass across the spot where there are hippos. And this hippo is next to the shore and goes bloop underneath the water, and it looks like a motherfucking torpedo is coming after this boat.
Lance has hippopotamus stories when Recon was in Africa doing shit.
Yeah, fucking.
Lance, I
Don't wanna
think
fuck
I'm
with a
pretty
hippo.
sure Lance said they turned one of their rubber boats over. I'm pretty sure that Lance
be
has
pretty
a
easy,
story
yeah.
about it. Yeah.
Whereas again, if I tell you we're gonna go see tigers or lions or whatever, your natural instinct is to be like, I don't want to be close enough where that thing can eat me.
That's
for
not
most
my
people.
instinct. No.
For most people, not weirdos.
Dude, we used to go to zoos as small children and reach through the fucking and touch the animals. There was no like standoff double fence or nothing. I got bit by a parrot at the San Diego Zoo.
What?
Birds.
The
Like-
bird didn't attack him.
I
He
put my
attacked
hand
the
in his cage.
parrot.
But like we used to go to the zoo and it was nothing to walk past. You could touch an elephant. You could get on an elephant. You could get on like the lion tamers. I don't know that I've ever touched a live lion. I don't think I have. But you were close to them, man. If that lion was just like, fuck this, I'm eating that kid, they could just fucking jump right. It was a 3-ring circus under the big top, Ringling Brothers, Barn and Bailey. Circus Vargas sucked. All the other little ones sucked. But you would see all these animals. Like you could literally touch them if you had enough money and your parents bought the VIP package and shit. You get your picture taken with a lion. Our children right now will never I saw interviews with guys that the president, vice president of these zoos and stuff, and they're like, oh no, we'll never have another elephant in captivity. As soon as these ones die, we're never bringing elephants into the zoo again. Your children will never be close enough to touch an elephant.
And the problem with the problem with that idea,
Yeah.
the problem with that idea is all you're doing is you're
Extincting.
hastening the extinction of those animals, because it's the exposure to those animals that makes people want to keep those animals. Once you push them to a spot where nobody can really see them or pay attention, what it's out of the zeitgeist, then they're dead. They're done.
We've got 30 elephants right now, 45 minutes from here. Hohenwald.
Yeah.
You can't see them. You can't fucking visit them. It's not open to the public. They're always begging for money. You can volunteer, and one day out of the year, you'll be the lucky motherfucker that gets to go over there and work there. Some people physically see elephants. Other people are like, I've been there I worked the whole fucking day, didn't see a single elephant. If you wanted to really generate revenue for that park, like, because they have a store in town where people come and buy merchandise and shit, open the fucking park up and let people come see these fucking things.
Yeah, you don't have to turn it into a circus. But if you generally are concerned about conserving these species, you have to create I need little Brandel to see an elephant and go, "That's the coolest shit."
I want to be able.
I love elephants.
I want to have an elephant when I'm a kid.
Because
when I'm an adult.
that's how you create conservatism. You can't do it any other way. A good example is Cecil the lion. When that dentist killed Cecil the lion, and everybody, all the hippies and the liberals were like, "Oh my god, I can't believe he killed the lion." 95% of all the money that goes to Africa to keep those animals alive comes from hunting, not from fucking hippies. Hippies don't pay to keep fucking tigers and all that shit alive. It was those hunters. And when they started pushing hard against hunting animals over there, when the United States was like, "Oh, maybe people can't do that anymore." You know what the fucking government did over in Africa? They killed 350 lions just like that.
Hold on. Not only that, Cecil the lion was a geriatric lion. He had an abscessed tooth and one of his canines was missing, if I remember right. They shot that lion. That dentist paid to kill the lion. They were going to kill the lion anyways. That lion could not hunt, and he was eating baby lion cubs. He was eating cubs out of the park. So when they shot that lion, it went super viral. Because of the outrage over it, Obama added a bunch more stuff to the Lacey Act, okay? Yeah. The Lacey Act is why I can't take my lion and sell it to somebody in another fucking state. There's tons of lions. Like my lion in the garage, my taxidermy lion, is not a good representative of a lion. It's very small, as big as it looks. And when I always tell kids, I'm like, put your hand in his hand, because they're just astounded at how big his fucking paw is, right? And the claws on him. That's a small lion. His mane is very poor. He was a captive lion, probably a zoo or circus lion or something at the time. The only lion I could get. I tried for fucking 15 years to buy a taxidermy lion. That's the only one I ever found in Tennessee that I could legally buy. And that's because of the Lacey Act. If you go back pre-Obama, no problem to move them across state lines. No problem whatsoever. Dude, I'd have a lion that fucking was standing on his back legs looking upstairs if I had the lion I wanted for taxidermy. But because of that, most hunting, guys get super mad when I say this. I'm like, it's rich white people. Yeah, Middle Eastern people go hunt. Yes, well-to-do black folks, they go hunt. It's Americans that drive all the money into those parks. And all those are is parks. All those lions that you're hunting, none of those were born in the wild. They literally, what you don't see is they have fucking breeding zoos where they breed and maintain those programs right now. There are more tigers in private hands in the state of Texas alone than the entirety of the rest of the world, right? Dangerous animals, 100%. Those are type 1 animals. They're categorized type 1, 2, and 3. In Tennessee, type 3 animals, they don't have to have permitting. Type 2 animals, they have to have permitting. It's typically like $35 a year. TWRA, you're just paying a fucking tax to have these things. Type 1 animals, man-eaters, lions, tigers, bears, venomous animals, stuff like that. But the Hohenwald thing, it's rich people shit. If you really got to the root of who is on the board of directors for that conservatory, it's probably some rich dude that wanted to have fucking elephants, and that's his way of having the elephants. Like, we could negate lions, tigers, and bears here by setting up as a museum, a teaching facility, or a zoo. And there's workarounds. And then they kind of have to work with you.
You can do a rescue, too.
You can do a rescue. That's another one.
So is that kind of how, like, what's his name? Tiger
King?
Tiger King did his?
Yeah, I bet he was a rescue.
But Texas is pretty easy. I think he was in Florida. Texas. Was he in Florida? Is another pretty easy one. You pay $3,000, you can have venomous animals in Texas. Like, it's not a big... Tennessee, do not get it twisted. I have no desire to have venomous animals. I like to look at them behind thick fucking glass. Like, we met a chick this weekend, and she's from Mississippi. And she's like, where do I know you guys from? Where do I know you guys? I'm like, you don't know us. We've never met you. And we looked at some animals and had some good conversation. And she's like, hey, we're not open to the public, but if you guys want to come to Mississippi, I'll give you a tour of our facility. And she does cobras and black mambas.
Jesus.
Like tons, like every venomous animal. And I don't know if she has like zoo caging, because most animals like that are kept in breeding racks. You've been there. Yeah. We open a rack. I've had a fucking 4-foot boa literally, I've had a lot of king snakes do it, and gopher snakes shoot themselves completely through the air when I open the cage, because it's just feed drive, prey drive. But anyways, back to Africa, Cecil the lion, because they made it so difficult to bring mounts and stuff into the United States compared to how it used to be, there was kind of a moratorium on people going over and hunting for a while. So there was no money coming to any of those villages. Like you hear about, like outside of Johannesburg and all those parks and stuff out there, like that's where they filmed Sector 7 and Chappie. It literally looks fucking worse than Tijuana. When you fly in, you go into Johannesburg, they take you into this gated area that has a beautiful gun shop and shit there. I've not ever been there. I'm relaying a story from Jacob Herman, who's been there many times. But they killed all those lions. Not only did they kill the lions, they killed 100 elephants, and they shot them all from helicopters in a period of like 3 days. And the villagers, like when you shoot an animal over there, the villagers use every part of that animal that you don't take. You don't, like, you'll, depending on how much you pay, you're staying in these yurts and these tents. You'll have a massage therapist. There'll be a fucking hot tub. There's a 4-star chef. And when you shoot zebra, they're cooking you an amazing dinner. All the rest of that animal, though, goes to the indigenous people. Those people that were game guides and stuff, they get all of that meat. They use every piece of that thing. When it became hard to go over there, they killed all those fucking animals. Like that area, right, there are other game reserves, but that game reserve where Cecil the lion is, it's Monsanto row crops. It looks like this up the road here. They're growing fucking soybeans and corn, Roundup ready. All because, oh, we gotta save these poor lions. The poor lions were the only fucking revenue draw for hundreds of miles around there. It's just like you want to shoot a lion in the United States. You can. You can go to Drive Tank. You ever heard of Drive Tank? You can go out there and shoot miniguns out of helicopter. All you gotta have is money. He has a whole nother side of that whole fucking ranch out there where he's got giraffes and all kinds of exotic animals and shit. And you pay. You go out there and take pictures of them, or you shoot them with a bow, or you shoot them with a rifle. Those are the same animals. There might be a crew of people taking photos this week. Next week, a dude fucking comes out with enough money and he fucking shoots one of those giraffes.
Yeah, it's big. It's
high fence parks.
Real economy in Africa. And so when a bunch of fucking liberal, the reality is when a bunch of people that have no fucking clue what they're talking about stand up and protest against that, they don't understand that that's the only thing that's keeping those animals alive. It's no different than, again, there's going to be a time in the future. There's going to be a time, maybe in the near future, when the only fucking tigers in the world are going to be in Texas.
Well, Dubai.
The reality is there's going to be a time because
Saudi Arabia.
Because all we're doing, people don't understand. Like, for example, a house cat, right? You think of a house cat. You
17.
take a house cat and you put it outside.
17
to 20 miles that cat roams
every night.
Now imagine a fucking tiger. They need space, and we encroach on all that space, and we destroy all their fucking habitat, and then we get mad because they're fucking running off with your chihuahuas. It's no different than, like, you can go to
coyotes and the mountain lions in California.
In California, if you're in San Bernardino County, it's common. It's like common to get Ring camera photos of fucking full on, 90-pound mountain lions chilling in people's front yard.
Dude, I saw one on the delivery route on my Saturday, Sunday route for New York Times. It would run into Rancho Bernardo. And I had driven in, and I'm like, what the hell is that? And I drove up to this fucking mountain lion, and I'm like, hey, bro. I didn't say bro back then. I'm like, and I stop and get out of the car, and he walks between two houses where they had their trash cans and went down in the canyon.
For example, it's like when coyotes, when people are blaming coyotes for stealing their cats and dogs and shit.
Those are bait.
We're in their backyard. We are encroaching in their area. But, those same liberals that are like, save the fucking Cecil the lion, are the first ones that are in the fucking county commission's office are telling them they need to come out and kill these fucking animals because they're stealing fluffy.
Did you see the chick
that's your fault, not
the
coyote's fault.
Chick posed in front of a dinosaur target, right? So all the companies, there's really two in the United States, companies that make forms for taxidermy, right? They're foam. They make archery targets also. And an archery target of a dino, like I don't have 5 of them here because they're like $5,000 a piece, like the nice ones. And she was standing in front of an archery target of like a triceratops or something, kind of like laying on the ground. And she's like, I shot this. And somebody's like, I can't believe this chick shot an endangered animal. Those Instagram posts went viral. Millions of comments of people talking. They're not even, it's a dinosaur. People are so fucking stupid.
It reminds me of like, I remember, I don't know if it was like early 2000s or not, but there was like that big thing about shutting down all the zoos. And it's like,
I've never heard that.
yeah, there were like a lot of hippie type people saying like, hey, zoos, like these animals need to be in the wild. We need to get rid of captivity in these zoos and all this stuff. And I was always like, how do you think gorillas survive?
Right.
And what wild, that's the other thing too.
Where would you put these animals?
That's the other thing.
So you would rather these animals be euthanized than fucking...
Yeah, that's the other thing is we do this a lot in America. We want a certain outcome, but we want that certain outcome to happen somewhere else in the world.
Yeah, we just don't
where it's like, where are you going to put all these born in captivity animals that have no fucking skill set to survive in... Are we going to put them on ships and take them back to Africa? Where are we going to put them? The Africans want, like, if the United States...
The Africans don't want the Africans.
Literally, if the United States empty all their zoos and created an ark to send the African animals back to Africa or send all the animals back where they came from, when that ship pulled up into Africa, they would kill, strip, and eat every one of those animals. None of them would get to where they need to go. Or kind of what happens every time a bunch of hippie liberals decide that they need to feed Africa. When that ship got there, the government would just be like, no. And it would sit there until all those animals starved to death, and all the hippies would be like, we did a thing, and then nobody would care because all the animals died.
That's what Hands Across America and all that shit was.
Yep. So the problem is especially, I will say this, especially with the liberal mindset. When you think about liberals, you can come up with this good idea, right? You can have this idea that peace on earth, goodwill toward, we're going to do this thing, whatever it is. They never, ever look at what the outcome, what the possible outcomes are going to be. They always think it's going to be sunshine and rainbows. It's like when, during the Reagan administration, when everybody was up in arms about fucking sanitariums and asylums. When they were all up in arms about the way they're treated, instead of mandating and requiring better treatment for the patients and going after the people that were committing crimes, no matter what, you're committing a crime when you're abusing a patient. Instead of going after them, they're just like, the liberals again, let's just close all these places down.
It was actually Nancy Reagan was the spearhead of that.
Let's close all these places down. And so they close them all down, and now we have to deal... Like, the reality is, when you talk about homeless, 90% of them are addicted to drugs because they have some sort of mental illness. That's what's out there. Because they don't have anywhere else to go.
They were science experiments. They were addicted to drugs, for sure, in the asylums. I believe it was Broadmoor. Okay, we were talking about Broadmoor, but I do want to... You just said, as long as we can get you a protective suit like chainmail. Have you seen the bear suits? Do you remember it used to be on like once a year, they'd be on the news, and they'd have like Joan Embry would bring a bear or something in, and they always had like this protective bear suit. There was always a dude, because like back, you probably don't know, they used to fight bears. Like, you could go to a bar and there'd be a fucking bear there, and you could box with the bear, you could wrestle with the bear. You remember kangaroo boxing?
Yeah.
Like, that was a real thing, right?
Wasn't that more like in England? Didn't they have that?
Well, I think it was like Australia and shit, but it was like old-timey, like all that stuff happened like with the sideshow. If you look at what's the Ripley's museums, right? All the stuff that came from Ringling Brother and Barnum and Bailey, like one side of that house was sideshow, one side was circus. They had the largest train in the entire world. They owned the most train cars and the most service for train of anywhere in the entirety of the world. I think still today they still hold that record. But all that stuff went to Ripley's. Like anytime you go to some place where there's a Ripley's, walk through there. You'll see some stuff, the actual Americana stuff. But I'd said Broadmoor, Geraldo Rivera did this expose on Broadmoor, went in and was walking through, got to some places they didn't think he was going to be able to get to, and they found men and women basically in a common room, a big, huge room that was just like jail, right? It's just a concrete room with concrete benches, I guess, built into the wall, right? And they had people just shackled there with no fucking clothes on, sitting in feces. There was a lady in there that day. I think there's some actual camera footage of it, video footage. There's some footage of her with a child, like she had given birth to this child and just lived in this place. But they had a guy in there, turns out he had cerebral palsy. He was not mentally unstable or anything. And I just watched, I'm pretty sure it's Broadmoor, I just watched a video on like the 30-year anniversary of basically the, I don't know what's it called when we went to all the camps in Germany and released all the people. What was that called? We liberated.
Yeah.
And it's like the liberation of Broadmoor or whatever. Mm-hmm. And this dude took his bar exam, and he's a fucking lawyer nowadays. This guy who was a inmate, a patient at the asylum. But because of that, they do this, it all got busted out very mainstream. Nancy Reagan got her claws into it, and she's like, oh, we have to save all these people. Well, they were supposed to come back for an investigation 6 weeks later, and Geraldo Rivera showed up 4 weeks, right? 2 weeks early. And what they had done was they just walled off part of the asylum. Like nobody was taking care of these people. There was people back there with no care at all. They just like put a fucking wall, and they were going to put some brick up and shit. And he got there early and found this fucking wall where patients would get trapped in stairwells and just die. They would just like close off parts of these buildings.
I've seen that video, like when they did it live or whatever, because you can go on YouTube and find it. But was that, you guys were like younger, right?
Oh yeah, we've been waiting.
So this was in the 80s. Yeah. This was, and that's when Nancy Reagan. So she said, all care will be given in the community. But there was no community care. They did set up some houses and made effort to put some people with, kind of a handler and a nurse and psychologist and stuff.
It's hard to take something like that and scale it to the size that needs to be. Because again, I bash on liberals a lot. You can, especially in those time periods in the 80s and 90s, there were legit liberals, because most liberals now are just fake. They're just doing it for the recognition. But there were legit liberals that cared about whatever it is they were doing. And like, for example, there are people out there today that take care of people that cannot take care of themselves. And to get up and do that every single day, that's a real cause. That's a person who really believes in what they're doing, and that's fucking hard. And we used to have those people. We kind of don't have a lot of them anymore. But even with those people, even with people who really are passionate about, hey, we're going to take care of the most vulnerable people in this country, when it comes to scaling up, you can't do it. Because you don't have that many people who actually care. And so if I scale this up to cover the United States, what ends up happening is I have to put people in positions where they don't give a fuck. And so that's how you have those things happen, because they're just like, I'm not dealing with poop today. So we're just going to let them sit all day, and that's how you have that happen, because things are very hard, no matter what it is. It's very hard to scale up. It's the same thing that happens it's the same exact thing that happens with medicine. Is it's easy to do a controlled study of 500 people. That controlled study of 500 people, your variables and your outliers are going to be small. When you enlarge it to 300 million people, you're going to have people that die. You're going to have all kinds of crazy shit that happens because they didn't consider that within that variable. So anytime we scale something up to, whenever you have a good idea fairy, whenever there's a good idea fairy that says, oh, this is what we should do in order to make the planet better, or blah, blah, blah. Once you scale it up to size, it's worse. It's kind of like, another good example is solar panels. Solar panels, getting energy from the sun is a fucking great idea. It's a great idea. when you're talking about small scale. But once you scale it up to the amount of energy and power that, say, for example, the United States needs, the e-waste that you're going to get from that is worse than the fuel.
Look at the turbine blades coming off, though.
It's worse than the fuel.
But with the solar panels, you have other things also. It's not just the e-waste. We don't have any battery capacity. The battery is the toxic portion of that, right? And then you also have people who have solar installed where it backfeeds and catches their house on fire. I'm sure that's improper installation. I'm sure that's a lot of nonsense. But like with the Broadmoor thing, there's hundreds of videos of asylums, documentaries, and many of the documentaries show the last day when they were releasing the patients. Those patients didn't want to leave. They were not excited to go home, most of them. And
the reality is we tend to focus on the worst. We tend to focus on the worst outcomes and then go, that is why we have to stop doing this. But when you have those facilities all across the country, there are facilities that were perfectly fine. And now I'm going to take this person who has real mental illness, and I'm going to be like, we no longer can facilitate the care for this person who has real mental illness. Here you go, John. How much care do you think that person's getting now?
And
it's even worse. So they get put on the street, they commit a crime. Now police officers who are not trained to deal with any of this have to deal with it on a daily basis. I mean, just the mental illness that's in the current prison system is a big problem.
That's mostly what's in psych wards now, like criminally insane and shit. They are jails. They are just jails where they have sedated people.
Yeah. So anyways, crazy.
Wild.
So when you have a good idea, just remember it might not scale up to the
the
reality of things.
What's that tattoo guy I sent you? I asked you if you knew him. You said you...
Oh, that's the... I don't know his name, but he should not have those snakes.
Yeah, he should. What state's he in?
I think it's California.
No, he's definitely not in California. I thought it was Florida or Texas. I was watching... I don't know how I got on. I got on a short, and I just liked his caging that he had. So I looked at his stuff. And he has like a zoo at his house. He's only got a few acres right now. But he had a cage in the backyard with a bunch of alligators. And he's like, I know, we got to get you a bigger cage. And he's feeding them, and he's building this bigger cage. He had a dog kennel with 3 parrots in there. And there was a dude who had not seen him in a couple of years. And he's like, are any of these the animals you had when I worked at the tattoo shop with you? And he's like, yeah, I hand-fed that baby. Remember, the health inspector would come in and was really mad that I had a parrot that I had to feed every 2 hours at the tattoo studio. But this guy's got just beautiful animals, beautiful caging, his whole facility. He's got all kinds of exotics. I think it's Florida. And he looks like Brandon, just a bigger Brandon. Tattoos all over him.
Bigger than Brandon?
Yeah, well, Brandon's super skinny. Not Brandon.
Oh, Brandon. Yeah, not Brandon. Why are you all dolls?
I don't know.
What's going on?
Kindle, Brandon. So, what episode is this?
Oh, are we doing what are we doing? A TikTok?
Pulling the Thread podcast episode. What is this?
What is this?
118.
118. Pulling the Thread podcast. So from here on forward in Pulling the Thread podcast or any future reference of any video we make, we will not, those guys over in the Middle East in that little tiny country? They wear the little hats. Their names end in Steen, right? We're going to refer to them from here on forth forever as Middle East, New Jersey.
I mean, it's about the same size.
It is the same size.
Yeah, it's about the same size.
Yeah. And it's New Jersey. It's as fucked up. I mean, New Jersey's fucked up.
Jersey Shore. Yeah, it's the Middle East Jersey Shore. Yeah, it is about the same size.
I've heard people say that, but I heard Bear do a live today talking about it. That's a perfect. Yeah, that's what we will call them from now on.
It is about the same.
So, did you see that Middle East New Jersey? All of the news last night is Middle East New Jersey is raiding Iran. They're about to bomb a nuclear facility in Iran. And this was everything last night, all the chatter was this. Woke up this morning very excited to see whether they had bombed Iran or not. Apparently it hasn't happened because there's no more mention of it.
That doesn't necessarily mean it didn't happen.
Okay.
Because, again, you have the world over there on that Jersey Shore is very complicated. And they have attacked and bombed Iran specific targets since the state was created. I mean, it's not the first time that Jersey Shore jets have flown into Iran and bombed a specific target. I mean, reality is they just did a specific mission where they went and blew up a bunch of fucking missiles and rockets that were in Iran, a specific military facility, and killed specific Iranian. They do it all the time. The problem with that particular scenario is none of the states around them
like them.
And so they're walking on a tightrope. Right now they're getting away with a lot of shit. Like, the reality is they're getting away with a lot of shit. And you can October 7th me all you want. They've killed way more people than the terrorists killed in the first. And that's war. Again, I understand war. When somebody punches you, you got to beat the shit out of them. And that's what they're doing right now, is they're beating the shit out of that part of the world so they can take a break for 10 years before they get ready for the next one. But they've killed way more people.
Yeah, they killed more people in 30 days.
They killed way more people.
They killed more people after the peace treaty.
They're
or
walking
the ceasefire.
They're walking a tightrope. And right now you have a Middle East. You have a Middle East that's not interested in what's going on over there. And from a leadership perspective, the leadership of those countries, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, all those countries are not really interested in what's going on there. But as we know, it does not take much for the populace of those nations to get riled up. And if they get riled up, the leadership has no choice but to do the same rhetoric.
Well, what do they do? March to the border? I mean,
well, they start taxing Jersey through the loss of their troops. The only reason why Jersey is continuing down this path that they're continuing is because they're having like the American idea of war. They're able to inflict
only because they have America.
No, they're Jersey. Jersey's really doing this on their own. Outside of us standing behind them, they're really doing all this on their own. Which I said they could do 20 years ago, fucking 20 episodes ago. I said that they don't need our help. They can handle whatever they're doing here. But itself as a country is very casualty averse.
Beep out everywhere he said.
Yeah, I guess. Jersey is very casualty adverse. They don't like casualties. And so when they get to the point where there's actual peer fighting going on, where it's tit for tat, even if it's 10, even if it's 15 Iranians for every one Jersey guy, at home, they don't like that. They don't like that because the reality is Jersey uses a primarily, not volunteer, but they're primarily like a National Guard force. And so when someone dies, it's someone that everybody knows. It's not like, it's not like when Americans are like, fuck those guys, they volunteered to be in the service. It's different. They're being called up. And so it becomes a problem. It becomes a problem for the government inside Jersey because people will start protesting that shit because they don't want to see, Jerseyans being killed. So it's an interesting quagmire they're in. They may get away with all this, meaning they may be able to influence the region. They may be able to influence the region for the next 10 years off of what they've been doing. So again, the reality is all you're doing in that scenario is you're creating a buffer. What I need to do is I need to kill as much of the leadership as I possibly can so I don't have to worry about them for 10 years. And that's kind of what they're doing. So it's interesting. I don't know at what point Iran is going to fucking step up, but there has to be a thing. Because right now they're hitting primary military targets, and so if you are Iranian Joe, and they're just hitting these fucking military targets. One, the government is trying to keep that as secret as possible because they don't want people to know. They don't want people to know that they are weaker than Jersey. Iran is not a military nation. And two, it's a military target. So that doesn't really rile people up. Now, I saw a video this morning of Jersey hitting a international hospital. That's the kind of stuff that could get them in trouble.
Well,
meaning,
stop putting your terrorists in your hospitals.
The reality is they've already killed all the terrorists. Here's the thing that.
So who's fighting then?
Everything that they need to know. Well, here I'm about to explain to you, is the government of Jersey was paying all the leadership within Hezbollah, and they were paying them all. That was part of how they were staying safe for so long. It was part of the reason why they weren't on point October 7th, because they were paying all these guys. They were paying them. It's how they knew all the people and all the networks, okay? This is the hard part about an insurgency. This is the hard part about fighting an insurgency. It's one of the reasons why we always lose. And it's the same problem that Jersey's having now, is the people that plotted and planned October 7th, the people that supported October 7th are dead. The Israelis killed them. They killed them all. Every one of them. But every single bomb they drop now, every bomb they drop, every bullet they fire creates a new terrorist, creates a new freedom fighter. Because, again, you can't keep pushing people into the corner and not expect a resistance. Not expect a resistance. You can keep calling them the same terrorists, the same... You keep calling them all that shit, but you're creating them. No different than what we did. We won the war in Iraq. And then our fucking stupid government officials immediately said, if you were part of any of Saddam Hussein's government, you are an enemy of the state, and we're fucking cutting you off. That was the rebellion. That was the fucking rebellion. The two places where we were successful as a country, and we fucked up in Iraq, we fucked up in Vietnam, is we always, when you think about World War II, what did we do? When we got to Japan, everybody wanted the emperor to hang. MacArthur and the people around him were smart enough to know, hey, what we need to do is we need to take everybody who's left, to include Japanese military personnel, and we need to keep the country running. We need to keep it running. We can't persecute. The war's over. We cannot continue to persecute. We have to rebuild this country. And that's how we rebuilt Japan. It was the same thing in Germany. There were a lot of people who wanted to fucking prosecute and fucking ruin every single person that had anything to do with the Nazi party. But the reality is you weren't in fucking Germany and not part of the Nazi party. So to fucking destroy all that would mean now you don't have any people making the bridges. You don't have any people fucking running the power. You don't have any people doing the things that are necessary to run a government. So you have to include those. Once peace is successful, once you get them to surrender, you have to include your enemy in the process of rebuilding, or you're gonna create an insurgency and you're gonna fucking lose. That is the problem that Jersey's having right now. Is what they're doing is creating an insurgency against themselves, because they have no plan for peace. They have no plan for rebuilding that area that includes any of the people that they're disenfranchising. And so what that ultimately means is that is going to continue for another 500 years. Even if they take bulldozers and they completely push fucking the entire the entire country of Palestine into the fucking ocean and then rebuild it.
Aren't they doing that?
They're trying to. But even if they do, even if they're successful, they are still going to have an insurgency and a whole group of people that fucking hate their guts because of what they've done. That's the problem. The problem is they are creating more insurgency because they have no plan. They have no plan to end this. They have no plan to end it. And because they have no plan, they're going to create an insurgency and they're going to continue to have this. Now, some people would say that that's on purpose. Because again, as you know, in order to control and manipulate the masses, a boogeyman is necessary. Right? A boogeyman is necessary. We don't question anything. We don't question anything that a government does when there's a fear of a boogeyman. I mean, look at all the shit that happened. Look at all the shit that the government pushed down our throats after September 11th. None of that was necessary. They didn't need the Patriot Act.
Right. That was just to control you and I.
Again, good intention or bad intention, it does not matter when you're talking about a government. When you're talking about a government and they create laws, when they create those laws, it could be of the best intentions, but someone is going to be in a leadership position that can use those laws for the worst possible outcome. So, yeah, that's all this is. I mean, the reality is, does fucking Netanyahu has Netanyahu come out and said, this is our stated mission, this is our stated goal, this is what we hope to foster for the future? No,
prior to the boogeyman of October 7th.
Yeah.
It was looking like Netanyahu was about to be overthrown by his own people.
I mean, the reality is Netanyahu was on the way out. And there's a lot of people within government. There's a lot of people within the Jersey government that are talking about him on his way out anyways because of the failure of what he did and and kind of the failure of what's going on right now. Because again, there's no exit strategy. If you don't have an exit strategy, it's just war for the sake of war. Now, the difference between Jersey and the United States of America is the way we have established our military. We can have a 20-year war and no one care. Like, the reality is, 25 plus years, you even go far back as Vietnam. Now, Vietnam was a little bit different because they were drafting people. Department of Defense got wise in the 70s and they're like, you know what? You know how we have these fucking continuation wars is we don't draft anybody. All volunteer force. If we can manage an all volunteer force, then we don't have to worry about people in Ohio protesting being drafted or wherever, Jersey or wherever. We don't have to worry about it. And so that's how we were able to have a fucking 25-year war that nobody cared about. Like 90% of Americans don't give a shit that we were there killing and being killed for 25 years. They don't, it's not even within the zeitgeist. And that's because of whole volunteer military. Well, they don't have that in Jersey. They don't have all volunteer military. They have a small portion of active duty guys, but they're all supported by this reserve force because that's how they created the country that they have. But that becomes a logistical problem in the future. It's the same problem that Russia has, like in Ukraine. They have these conscripts that have year-long contracts. When the year's up, the year's up. They get to go home. So that's a problem. You can't have, you got, let's just say, 1 out of 10. 1 out of 10 guys can go home, as a year-long conscript and go home. That's a big chunk of your force that disappears in a year that you have to replace. So now you got to get all these other new it's a problem. Yeah. Anyway, so that's a problem over there. It's a fucking shit show. I don't know how they end it. Jersey really wants to drag the United States in a protracted 20-year war in Iran. They want us to do regime change in Iran. I don't think Trump's going to fall for it because we have a bigger threat.
There's a lot out there right now saying Trump is displeased with how things are going over
Oh
there.
yeah, I don't know if you know Netanyahu basically came out and gave Trump the middle finger,
Yeah.
but the United States, here's the thing, the United States isn't doing anything that directly affects how the United States isn't doing anything that directly affects the outcome of what's going on over there. Meaning we're not.
Where's all the ordnance for that Iron Dome come from? Don't we build all that shit?
I mean, they have a pretty good production of equipment, but the majority of that stuff comes from the United States.
Where's all the raw materials to produce that come from?
The majority of it comes from the United States.
Who else is feeding them?
Nobody.
The United States.
The United States. I mean, there's probably small European countries that throw them a bone every now and then, but the reality is,
Right. Well, who feeds them?
The reality is, Israel as a country, or Jersey as a country, does not exist without the backing of the United States. It doesn't exist. So,
Right. And even if European countries send them a bone, who feeds all those European countries? I saw something this morning saying that they named off a bunch of different states. I sent it to you, Brandel. I'm sure I sent it to you as well. They named off all these states in Europe, and they're like, this country is 60% Muslim. This country is 72% Muslim. This country is 50%. They're all over 50% Muslim.
I think...
they just had a prime minister voted in of somewhere that's not even from. Like, none of them were born there.
I think a lot of that, too, though, was a little bit of scare tactics. They're trying to scare Europe. They're trying to scare Europe into fucking... Which is working, because there's a lot of places where the we'll say indigenous people of that country are rebelling against the influx of immigrants.
Yes.
That's gonna turn against that part of that they have a coming to Jesus moment going on over there.
Did you see the rally in Italy?
No, I didn't see any of it.
All day. So, and I mean, it could just be camera angles, but I mean, it looks like hundreds of thousands of people, and you've got all these women in uniform doing the hail thing, and that's what they're saying. Like that is what happens when you flood the country. The indigenous people unite against all those fucking people committing all those crimes and overthrowing their way of life.
Yeah, you have to. Again, the problem is. The problem is from a ruling class perspective. If you're the ruling class,
and who really is the ruling class? The ruling class of Italy does not even reside in Italy.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it doesn't matter where you're at. You could be in North Korea. It doesn't matter where you're at. The ruling class has to take a pretty middle of the road line. They have to create an environment within wherever they're at that's semi middle of the road. In order to keep both the extremes at bay,
or from pulling them from the castle.
Just extremes at bay, because the extremes will always fight each other before they go after the middle of the road. So you have to have this middle of the road. The problem for Europe is they went way to the left, right? They swung that pendulum to the left. Basically, COVID and the whole world went fucking left for some reason. They went left. You had a bunch of these uber rich people that thought if we prioritize the left side of the brain, for somehow we're going to be better off. Well, when you go one direction or the other, when you leave center and you go one direction or the other, the pendulum has to swing back, and eventually it does everywhere. The question is, always, will the ship right itself and go back to center? Or will the right go after the left, or the left go after the right? You always want to have that center of the road. That is why America, the reality is, people don't understand this, especially libtards, why America was so successful after the end of World War II. Because we created a middle class that was bigger than both the left or right. We created this middle of the road class that was bigger than both the left or right. So we were able to maintain the status quo all the way up into the 60s. And even in the 60s, when shit got a little skewed, not much, because you think about it, you had 100,000 people marching against Washington, D.C., protesting the Vietnam War. It didn't end the Vietnam War because the middle was still too strong, right? So we kept that middle of the road. We started to lose it in the 70s. In the 70s, it started to degrade, and we got Jimmy Carter. And Jimmy Carter was, from all accounts, a great guy.
Yeah,
but
the
a
worst
terrible
president.
fucking president. Didn't know what the fuck he was doing. Well, again, he looked at being president through liberal eyes and did not understand how the world really works. And the pendulum, because Jimmy Carter was president and he was fucking pushing the country deeper into the abyss, what happened? The pendulum swung way right, and we got fucking Ronald Reagan, where everybody's out waving flags and doing all that shit. But even, you think about Reagan. Reagan was right of center. The ship still needed to correct. We needed to get back to center. So that's even when you look at, when people are fucking bad-mouthing Trump, if I took a bunch of people that are on the right and a bunch of people are on the left, and then I took Trump's policies, like his actual policies, the things he actually does, and I went to the people on the left and went, because they do this all the time. They do it all the time, and the people on the left always get caught up in it. These are 10 things that Barack Obama did. What do you think? And they're like, those are great things.
Uh-huh.
I love it. Oh, I'm sorry. Those were all things that Trump did. Right? Trump is more left
Liberal,
than
yeah.
he is right.
Yeah, he was a Democrat.
Yeah, I mean, he was a Democrat, but he's more left than he was
The only
right.
reason he's not is because they turned on him.
Well, yeah, but he understands that he can. One of the things that Trump understands better than anybody else is he can have left-leaning policies. So he can have these not radical left policies, but he can have somewhat off-center policies, somewhat left policies, as long as he continues with the patriotism for America. You can have left policies as long as you're like, it's for Americans and for America. But if your left-leaning policies are for, let's just say, people who came here illegally, and you're supporting these people who came here illegally, but an American citizen doesn't get that same type of safety net, you're fucked. You're the Democratic Party. You're losers.
Yeah, you're seeing
And so that's the thing that Trump understands, is he can have these kind of left policies on certain things and be successful where the right isn't going to call him out on it, because again, he's using the American flag in order to fucking make it happen.
Yeah, he's putting 200-foot flags at the White House, and they're super pissed off about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
And
waves
so,
the
again,
flag very well.
The problem with liberals, or the problem with the Democratic Party in general, is they don't understand.
They don't care. And whatever Trump says, they want to do the opposite.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But
Yeah.
they don't understand. I don't know why they don't understand that when he puts up an American flag, and if Trump puts up an American flag, the Democrats should put one up higher.
Yeah.
Because by them literally attacking the American flag, they're telling all Americans that they don't care about America.
Well,
So fuck them.
They don't.
Well, I mean, again.
So what about, did you see Bongino and Kash Patel come out yesterday?
I don't pay attention to them. They're
So it looks like a hostage situation, right? You think there's somebody with a gun to their children's head, right, off camera? And both of them are like, I saw the video of Epstein killing himself. He definitely, he killed himself. And we're going to call him EpiPen from now on. We're not going to use the term.
how could you, wait a minute.
Yeah, that's what, exactly.
How did you see the
could that
video?
be if there was no video?
How did you see the video?
No witnesses,
How
yeah.
did you see the video?
Yeah.
I mean, the reality.
And then Bongino's like, yeah, I saw it. We saw the video. So if you think anything different, you're wrong. What happened to day one? Day one,
I mean, he's,
the FBI building. Day one, we're going to arrest these people. Day one.
He's doing some very, okay. Again, I think this goes back to what I was talking about before about center. the FBI went way to the right, and you kind of think that all you have to do is get. If I get in the building, all I have to do is turn the wheel to the center, and everything's going to be okay. I think that from especially Kash Patel.
Is Kash Patel as crazy-eyed as he always looks when they put his picture up, or is that just a poor picture?
No, he's crazy-eyed.
Because you see, anytime you see a left media, they put up the worst fucking picture of him. You're like, what the fuck is up?
I think that I think especially Kash Patel in way over his head from a perspective of, I don't think they truly understood the rot that was there, and he's trying to because if you look at some of the stuff that he's actually done, like some of the things that he's doing, is very it's very FBI center. Like it's the center. It's telling the FBI or telling again the FBI, hey, 1,500 of you motherfuckers are going to go down to Memphis, and you're going to help Memphis get its shit together. That's what the FBI is for, right? That's the kind of thing. You take a federal task force, you go into a place where there's high crime, and you use those federal laws to mitigate the damage that's going on in those areas, such as.
Come in. What's up?
That timid look. That timid look scares the hell out of me. You were looking in here like. I was like, who is this guy? Holy cow!
Are you working on the road crew or something?
Yeah, what's going on? You got high vis there?
It's not high vis.
I was going to move further away because I'm stopping here like every 2 weeks now.
Where do you live here now?
No.
He lives here in this building.
Yeah.
Oh, I wondered why those sleeping bags were back there.
That's right. So
I'm like, you want a bed? He's like, no, I only sleep on concrete.
No, I
sleep in the push-up position.
no self-respecting Russian out in the world would sleep in a bed.
you don't know much about Russians.
They wouldn't sleep in a bed. That's too.
You guys have really nice lights on your buildings.
That's too soft.
We do.
It looks fucking beautiful when
No,
people
I
are
know
driving
you don't.
through
Don't
there.
give me that bullshit, Sonny. I know you like sleep like this, with one eye open.
With toothpick.
He's like at 50. He's like, I'm going. Whenever he gets home, I know Sonny goes, I'm going to 50%. Closes one eye. Shit.
I make other people sleep on one eye.
What were we talking about?
Kash Patel.
Oh yeah, I think
Bongino.
he's just way over his head in the sense of the rot that has gone on in the FBI. So again, how do you he's putting his fingers in these holes, and then there's just more fucking holes everywhere. And then the thing about Epstein is, the reality is that's an intelligence gold mine. It's an intelligence gold mine. I guarantee you, when they got behind when Kash Patel is all talking shit about how he's going to get behind the curtain and fucking expose all this shit. When he got behind the curtain, he went, holy shit. Really? All this was going on Epstein? Holy shit. And I guarantee you, again, somebody in the permanent government, probably a 3-letter agency, went, yeah, we're not. No. Mm-mm. You don't get that. You don't get to go behind. You don't get to open that curtain to the public. And the reality is, there's plenty of shit he can do that doesn't have anything to do with fucking the Mossad collecting all that fucking intelligence on U.S. representatives.
So what about Trump? Trump got in his motorcade and went to Capitol yesterday to meet with Congress or whatever. Did you see any of that shit?
Nah, I don't.
None of it was televised.
Yeah.
They had press conferences after the fact. Wasn't that supposed to have they're staying in Congress until there's a vote last night, right? And part of that, there's a bunch of bullshit in there,
yeah,
along with a few sprinklings of people want. Like they were supposed to remove suppressors and SBRs from the NFA. Did that happen?
I have no idea.
It hasn't happened.
Because
if it happened, you'd have 100 fucking messages.
Yeah, I'm. Here's the thing about that, though. I'm against what they did.
What's that?
So, the Republicans I'll use the suppressor thing as an example.
Well, the Republicans aren't fucking Trump's guys.
The Republicans aren't doing anything. But again, I'll use the suppressor thing as an example. Is instead of the party that we elected going, hey, And we're just gonna, we're gonna do this with suppressors. We're all gonna vote one way or the other. This is how it's gonna play out. Instead of doing that thing, the thing that they all asked, the thing that the Republican Party all pretended that they want to do was single bill items.
You haven't done a fucking one of them.
They haven't done a fucking one of them. And with the suppressor SBR thing, that was the point of that bill last night, is they were sneaking it in to a bigger bill that Trump would have had
with millions of other things.
Yeah, what Trump would have had to sign, and then, oh, look what we snuck in. Fuck that. Everything should be single. Every fucking thing that they do should be single bill things that the entire American public gets to see, and they have to vote their conscience or whatever on that thing. And if, again, if suppressors lose, I don't think. Here's the thing. We talked about this last week. Suppressors and SBR they're not going to win. Because the community within, the suppressor community,
doesn't want it.
The SBR community, they don't want it. It's no different than, people are like, oh my God, traitor within. It's no different than if tomorrow Trump came out and went, you know what? Everybody should have machine guns. Let's just, let's get rid of the NFA at all. The biggest people who would be against that are all the motherfuckers who own machine guns. Because again, their machine guns would be worth nothing.
It's a store value. Yeah, you have a ton of.
Your machine gun would now be worth nothing. Same thing with the suppressors. You got suppressors out there that are $1,300. They're fucking mufflers. And if they take the suppressors off the NFA, those companies are done. They're over. Because we could make a suppressor in the garage in 15 minutes.
In your garage.
Well, yeah, in Brandon's garage. But what I'm saying is, those companies are done. They don't want the fucking things to come off the registry. They don't want them. They don't even that's why it was. They were like zero tax stamp, because they wanted me, the suppressor buyer, to go, oh, I don't have to pay a tax stamp anymore. That's so cool. I still have to go through all those goddamn companies to make it happen. I still have to get on the NFA registry. And those companies are the ones that are fucking making that happen. So they're making money. No, they don't want this shit to go away. No different than if they said machine guns. So it's smoke and mirrors. Yeah, there is a hardcore group of people out there that are trying to make this happen. But there's just as many people that are trying to not make it happen. And none of it has anything to do with guns or violence or anything. It just has to do with money. That's it.
You think Ghislaine Maxwell is in custody?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I don't know. She might be in New Jersey.
You think Epstein's really dead?
Yeah, Epstein's dead as fuck. They had to kill him.
Okay, so if supposedly Ghislaine Maxwell is in custody for child trafficking,
yeah,
how come you don't have the name of any of the clients? Who was she trafficking them to? Like, how come none of that shit?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I know that when you have people talking about releasing this information or identifying crimes that were actually committed.
So they need to be able to hold it as blackmail?
Yeah, they got behind the curtain and they're like, we can't do it. We can't go after these people. The reality is there are people in the world that are untouchable. And they'll every now and then they'll sacrifice a pawn. Like when you think about the Queen's brother, they didn't really sacrifice him. Like he didn't. Yeah, he had to hide. He had to hide in one of the back mansions. And
is she still alive?
No, Queen's dead.
There's pictures of her there sitting with Epstein on that bench at the cabin.
Yeah,
there's photographs of her.
That's why they were so quiet about it. Come on, that's how you keep. That's how you keep that stuff secret. Is you got to. Everybody has to. When you get to the door, everybody has to take a drink of the baby. And if you don't think when you're eating baby stew that those motherfuckers don't have 400 cameras and a fucking DNA test to show that of course they do. Because they have to hold that on you.
Did you see the Truth Social came out of Trump's account yesterday, maybe the night before, about the Hillary kill list, all the people surrounding Hillary Clinton that have died around her?
Yeah, a lot of people have died.
Yeah, he fucking, whoever put that together did a good job of it.
It would be interesting to see though, like if you're in the public sphere, say, we say Hillary Clinton, but like Donald Trump is in the public sphere. It would be interesting to see how many, when they talk about six degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon, It'd be interesting to see how many people have perished around Donald
Other
Trump.
people?
Yeah,
Sure.
just because again, it's that. So you can kind of connect somebody
yeah, but
to
nobody
everything.
died and then Trump became a congressman. Nobody
Well, I
died
know.
and then, you know.
Well, we don't know that.
There's a lot of that shit.
We don't know that.
True.
We don't know who Trump's killing.
I don't
He's
know.
got a, he's
if
got a
it
good
existed,
assassin.
I think it would be out there.
He's got a good assassin. That's why his assassins are better than Hillary's, because they always fuck up and shoot people in the back of the head when they were supposed to commit suicide and shit like that. Yeah, I mean, again, I think that the Epstein stuff is just it's radiation, it's nuclear material, and they can't fucking let it out. Because again, if you came out, like, the reality is, if they really did come out and say that they saw him kill himself on video, then you have people within the Justice Department that perjured themselves because they said those cameras were broken.
Right, and if they're saying they saw the footage, then put the fucking footage out. No, I mean, we have no way to know whether it's fabricated or not.
Now you don't know. I mean, the reality is, if you think about just...
They don't have any way of knowing.
If you think about just from a political machine, Epstein's dead. They had to kill him because he already used his get out of jail free card. He used it once, and then he went right back to the same shit. So, you know, if you're sitting around that table, you're like, roll him up. He's got to go. We can't handle this heat. He's got to go. And so, yeah, he's dead for sure. Whether they killed him, he killed himself, doesn't matter. He had to be killed. He knew too much. And Maxine there, she hasn't said shit. She didn't say shit. You have to think about it. The entire time she was on the run, she didn't say nothing. She didn't release nothing. She kept her mouth shut. And I guarantee you, her Mossad father was in the background going, hey, we roll her up. She keeps her mouth shut. Don't kill her. And so the reality is she may be in fucking Israel or Jersey. She may be in New Jersey.
Middle East, New Jersey.
Middle East, New Jersey right now. She may be home. Nobody's even talking about her. So she's probably home.
Have you seen any of the Diddy stuff going on?
Oh God, fucking Diddy. God. Oh, now here's the crazy thing about the Diddy stuff that I've seen, or the Diddy stuff that I've heard, right? Is outside of bringing prostitutes across state line, the rape allegation, most of the stuff they're talking about in court is consensual. Like, most of the stuff that they are talking about, like what's his girlfriend's name?
I don't know what it is.
I can't think of her name. Cassie. When Cassie's talking about that stuff, when Cassie's talking about, male prostitutes running trains on her so Diddy could sit in the corner and...
Yeah, she never said I didn't want to do it.
Well,
Did she?
She says it one time. She says that she does say that Diddy did rape her once. But then she also says, I kept coming back. Right? And so there's really no crime if you want to sit in a corner and watch your woman get railed by 20 dudes. I mean, the crime there is they were hired prostitutes that he brought across state lines.
Male prostitutes.
So there's the crime. And even some of the other shit, like, have you heard the recording that nobody knows if it's real or not of Diddy hitting fucking LeBron?
Yeah, so I've heard of that.
Yeah.
I didn't hear it. But there was one came out yesterday that was supposed to be Will Smith's son.
Well, again,
Same thing.
Outside of
As a juvenile.
As a juvenile, that's different, because
Yeah.
that's the kind of thing that they're like. I see the court case right now is they're trying to steer it towards who's the little kid Mickey Mouse star that
You talking about Bieber?
that they're trying to steer it towards Justin Bieber, because when Diddy had his claws in him, Bieber was like 12, and so they're trying to steer it towards that kind of stuff. Bieber keeping his mouth shut. I don't know how they, because most of the stuff, even when you think about what's his name, who's the guy that does Family Feud now.
Mm-hmm.
The black guy who does Family Feud now.
I don't know.
Comedian Steve
Harvey.
Steve Harvey. They're talking about Steve Harvey and Diddy had a relationship for 25 years, a sexual relationship for 25 years. Now, some people are saying that he was using that. Some people were saying that he was doing all that stuff and then he would blackmail the person after. That's how he was getting the money.
And it's almost as though it's so fucking insidious. It's so fucking taboo that whatever fucking Steve Harvey knows to even testify to any, it has to admit to all of it. I
saw, I can't think of his name, another guy in the community, but he was talking about that it's basically what the whole point of what Diddy was doing was taking these really bread earners, these people who make millions of dollars, and then dominating them and taking their manhood away from them, so they were always in his pocket.
Yeah, so he can
for
extort them or
whatever he wanted to do. So I don't. There's a lot of stuff. Most of the stuff that they're talking about in court right now, like, okay, he was a turd bird. Okay, he was a weirdo, but that's not against the law.
Ellen fled the country.
Yeah, I mean they're trying to connect Ellen fled the country for but again, this is kind of on that Epstein level list thing. Is I don't care. Like, I don't care if Ellen fled the country. What I care about is, did she commit a crime? If she committed a crime, then tell us what the fucking crime is that she committed and arrest her. Outside of that, look, you cannot be in the Hollywood sphere. Like, if you can't be in that sphere and not be part of some weirdo clique. They're all fucking weirdos.
You don't think it's just more bread and circuses? We've talked about this for the last 15 minutes right now, right? Everybody's so rooting for one of these people to fall and go to prison or whatever, but it doesn't make us any better when it happens. It doesn't fucking add anything to us.
Well,
what it really does is it takes the heat off of something else. It takes our focus and attention off of something else and puts it on this thing.
I would say that for this particular, what we're talking about here, this level of debaucherism, it's not like anyone in the United States, anyone outside of Hollywood, California. And when I say Hollywood, California, I'm talking about Hollywood as an idea, not the actual place. Nobody outside of that world goes, oh, they're all just upstanding citizens. We know they're all fucking. We know that, again, every one of them belongs to some sort of.
Dude, every one of them has tunnels under their houses.
Every one of them belongs to some weird
Like all that shit about
clique.
the Getty Museum, like that's all fucking playing out. Like every fucking bit of that.
But every
shit.
one of them has some sort of weird cliques. Now, the problem is, the way I look at it is, a lot of that Hollywood nonsense has bled out into the American general public. And so you have this idea that the things that Diddy does or the things that Weinstein does, it's okay. You have to fucking, there's a point where you have to start cracking the whip, no pun intended, but you have to start putting these people in jail. You have to start locking them up. So the regular rank and file is like, oh shit, because again, it makes a difference. If they're like, oh, they put fucking Diddy in, they've locked his ass up. There are people that are going to be like, yeah, I better not, I should probably not do the thing I'm doing because, so there's a point where you have to fucking start reining that shit in a little bit so you can have a functioning society, because the reality is, if you think about Hollywood, it's not a functioning society. There's nothing about Hollywood that, there's nobody in Hollywood that's not fucking a lunatic.
I've not looked at it, but the thing, I've not fleshed it out any, but I saw a post today that said Klaus Schwab's daughter has come out and said that her father is responsible for 225 million deaths or something somewhere. And the gist of it had something to do with 2019 and stuff like that.
The problem when you have, especially when you have a family member
Right.
come out, it depends on how left wing or right wing she's gotten, because you're like, my dad created the polio vaccination,
Right.
and then on the left side of it, you're like, well, 100,000 people died from the polio you just can't, you don't know what the fuck she's even talking about. So that's the hard part, is there's a difference between actual specifically saying you're going to kill people like Bill Gates, or
Right.
it's just happening. So,
All right. So what do you think happens in the next 2 weeks?
nothing.
Nothing. Just
Nothing.
same old shit.
Same old shit. It's going to be the same. It's status quo. Nobody is like Trump's as radical as we thought his picks were. Like as radical as heavy as the Democrats fought against the picks that Trump did, they fought against those picks only because Trump picked them. None of them are doing any of the things that people said they were going to do. To the extent that they're not really even going after politicians who've actually broken the law. So I don't know. It's just going to be. I think, again, I said this before. I would have hoped that Trump would have been would have went a little more right and started going after the left for everything that they did over the last 8 years or 12 years. But I think he's trying to right the ship to center. I think he's trying to get us back on a center footing and stop all this fucking left versus right hate. I don't know. It's interesting, but I think everything's going to stay status quo. I don't think anything is going to happen. Anything major is going to happen over there in the Middle East with the Arab New Jersey. I don't think anything. I don't believe a lot of the rhetoric that's about China popping off. I think it's just going to stay status quo. So, who knows?
Yeah, apparently he said today or yesterday in talks that when he was talking about Zelensky and Russia, that he said it's not my problem. He said I tried to negotiate a peace deal over here. It doesn't seem to be happening. Basically, I'm out.
Yeah, that's kind of what he has done with the Israel thing. Is he was focused on it, and then they're like, "We don't want your help." He's like, "Okay, fuck it." He's kind of doing the same thing there, but the problem is, just from a geopolitical perspective, is when America says I'm out, that's a big deal.
Right. When America said
it's a big deal. Like,
when we said we're out of UN and all that, right? When we said we're out of, we're done over here with Ukraine. France is like, we'll send troops into Ukraine. What,
No,
they
they
sent
won't.
100?
well, they
100, and they just said, hey, we've done everything we can do. What are you going to fucking do?
Yeah, the NATO does not have the teeth necessary to do shit. They don't have the teeth. Like they could all get together. They could all get together and be like, "Fuck it, we're gonna fight Russia."
Their only hope is to get a bunch of their people killed so they can instate Article 5.
I mean,
right?
that would be the greatest thing. The reality is for Putin in general, that would be better than what he has going on right now, because he can unite the country against these fucking idiots from NATO that think they're going to invade. Nothing would be greater. Nothing would be more united for Russia than to have German tanks moving across the Ukrainian peninsula again. It's fucking stupid. It is dumb. Plus, if he knows 50% of what we already know, NATO doesn't have the capability. They just don't have the fucking capability to create anything. If Putin knows that.
Of course he knows.
Well, you don't know what you don't know, right? So, I mean, the NATO does not have the fucking teeth to even think that they're going to invade Russia. Like, they just don't. They don't have it. It's a fucking dumb idea, and it's stupid to even think that you're gonna send French. You're gonna send French troops or British troops or fucking whoever in to that fight. No, you're not. Nobody. The reality of what is going on the ground in Ukraine and between Ukraine and Russia. There's no fucking military in the world. No military in the world that is trained and ready for that kind of fight. We haven't. Every time a coalition has fought under the American flag anywhere in the world, we've always been the fucking supreme dominant force. Nobody knows but Russians and Ukrainians what it's like to live in a trench. That's it. Nobody knows except Russian and Ukrainians what it's like to live under fucking hundreds of thousands of artillery rounds. They're the only ones that know how to fight that fight. We go in there and get fucking people are just not ready for the type of combat that is going on over there. The reality is we haven't seen that. We have not seen that type of warfare that they are doing over there since World War One. And we haven't. And so nobody's ready for that shit. You'd have to get really punched in the face. And I don't think here's the thing. You have very weak leadership in the European countries. Very weak leadership in all those European countries. If NATO decided that they were going to get in the fight, the first time Russia punched them in the face, I think it wouldn't surprise me one bit if a fucking NATO country decided to go nuclear first before Putin, because they don't have the capability to do anything else. There's no reserve. Do you think France right now could do a call up of reserves? Ain't no million taxis going to be taking fucking troops to the front like World War One. It's not going to happen. It won't happen. The French people will be like, yeah, I don't want no part of that shit. There's people getting really killed over there. It's not going to happen. So what is your choice? Your only choice is to hope. Your only choice is to hope that America gets involved, right? That's your only choice, is to hope that we get involved. We don't really want anything to do with it. Not from a fucking ground troops on the ground going and fucking. We don't want nothing to do with that shit either. So what's the next option? The only other option you have is to fucking rattle nuclear weapons. I don't think Putin is scared of any nuclear weapon that NATO is gonna, because the reality is the United States and China are the only countries in the world that have the capability of destroying everybody. The fucking French don't. Yeah, they got some missiles, but they don't have enough to fucking make a difference. And the Russians have enough to take France off the map. And I'm just using France as an example. It could be any of those countries, Poland, fucking Britain. So how do you make that decision? Well, the only way you make that decision is if you're a fucking weak bullshit leader that has no choice because you're backed in a corner because the first troops you sent there got wiped out. Now Russian T-34s are marching across through Poland towards France. What other toy in the arsenal do you have? So it's a fucking no-win situation. I would say during the Cold War, NATO was okay. But now there's no teeth. No teeth. You can't name a single operation that's gone on since 1946 that NATO was the deciding factor. None of them. Not Kosovo. The deciding factor in Kosovo was what? Was when we got involved. Fucking NATO couldn't do anything. Right? It's a bunch of horse shit. So fuck them. Let them, I don't want to. I hate to disparage on my allies because they are our allies.
Are they really our allies?
But they don't have the they don't have the. They're talking about getting in a fight that they don't have the will or the equipment to go. Doesn't matter. The thing that people don't understand, that I think people do understand this, but they're just ignorant to the fact. It doesn't matter if Russia has the equipment. It doesn't matter. They have the will. You don't. So, again, it's a fucking no-win situation for NATO countries to even think that they're going to, get into this fight. Yeah, it looks sexy from afar. Like you see what's going on out there and you're like, okay, well, if Ukraine the only reason why Ukraine can hold out is because we gave them a fucking $1 billion worth of high-tech equipment. That's it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm not impressed with thinking that France is going to. They have to rattle their sabers because if they don't, they look weak, and weak leaders don't get reelected, and it's a soup sandwich. No matter how you look at it, it is just a soup sandwich. Zelensky doesn't want it to end because he's done when it is over. Like, he's fucking done. He ain't getting reelected, and he doesn't get the even.
I think he's dead when it's over.
Even if he gets reelected, eventually he's going to get the fucking Russian umbrella. So there's nothing that Zelensky needs this fight to continue. He needs it to continue. Putin needs it to continue just for political reasons until he has an upper hand. Like, they've already taken Kursk back. They've already taken all that ground back that Ukraine thought was going to fucking, force Russia into negotiations. They've already taken all that ground back. If he can stabilize the lines and just continue to fucking wear down the Ukrainians, there's a point where they're gonna have no choice. They're just gonna have no choice. So it's not within, I hate to say it, it's not within his best interest to negotiate for peace right now.
What do you think Ukrainians' force remaining is right now?
It's okay. It's hard to judge what they have on the ground because everybody's lying, right? The Ukrainians are lying. The Russians are lying. Nobody's telling the truth about casualties on the ground. What is true is the Ukrainians are calling companies battalions. So you're going from 1,200 to 2,000 guys to 300, and you cannot hold and they're still manipulating those companies like they're battalions.
Those guys are fucking worn out.
Oh yeah. Yes. The Ukrainian front line is fucking worn out. The Ukrainian, their special forces guys, they're fucking worn out. I'm not going to say that the Russian guys aren't worn out either, because they're not rotating troops through that field. But again, I don't. From a perspective of those lines, it doesn't matter what is happening in the Russian trenches. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is what's happening in the Ukrainian trenches. And if I had 10 guys holding this piece of ground, but now I only have 4 guys, that's a fucking serious problem. It's a serious fucking problem. Right now they have the tactical equipment to move people. So whenever Russia makes a push, they have the equipment to take this company and move them over here and fight here to reinforce. They have it right now.
What's that equipment?
It's Bradleys, it's
Strikers,
fucking Strikers and shit, armored Humvees. They have it, but it's going away. They're losing that shit. And if they get to the same point where the Russians are at right now, where they're riding motorcycles to the front, they're not going to be able to do it. The fucking Russians are going to be able to push right through that.
How come the Russians aren't using drones?
They are. They again. You have to understand.
We're just not seeing their
footage. You have to
footage.
understand that the propaganda is being used against us in a way to make it look like Ukraine is, I don't want to say super successful, but that Ukraine is winning that fight. Okay. The Russians are using just as many drones. The Russians are using just as it's the same. It's why the lines aren't changing. If you have a piece of equipment that's technologically advanced over your enemy, doesn't matter what it is. Like if let's say drones was the fucking thing, like it was this thing that everybody's pretending it is, then they would have already beat the Russians. It's like the airplane. If you don't have the fucking airplane, you're not going to win. But the Russians have the same shit. Matter of fact, some of the stuff that the Russians have, like especially their loiter, they have a drone that just loiters and looks for targets. Some of their shit is better, but
they definitely have more of it too.
I don't know about more, because again, what's happening is you're taking an uncomplicated piece of technology, and you're fighting a complicated piece of technology. So the drones, for the majority, they're still both using, the drones, the DJI drones, right? But for the majority of the Russian drones, they're what I would call military grade. They're real tactical drones. Like they're loiter drones. When they shoot their loiter drones off, they're not controlling those drones. They're just like, there's some Ukrainians over there. Let's fire this motherfucker off. They fire it off, and it just flies around until Abrams pops out of the bushes, and then it fucking hits it. The Ukrainians are using mostly DJI drones or something similar to. There's a human attached to it. He's fucking flying it, but it's still people are dying from these things, but it's still a plastic toy compared to a real piece of military hardware, right? So drones are a fucking a force multiplier, but they are not the thing that is going to change the tide of the war. Like if you have all drones if you have all drones and I have all tanks, I'm still going to win.
Have you seen this big fighter that's all AI? It's unmanned.
Yeah, there's a kind of bunch of them really.
Yeah, I've seen
Navy
4 or
has
5
one.
pieces of content
Yeah.
in the last couple days about this. There's a smaller one. It's like half-size jets, and it's controlled by. It's attached to a jet, a manned jet, and then it basically has these other 2 that go out, and they're full armed payload and everything, but they go out ahead.
Yeah, it's to protect the
the
asset.
And apparently they're full AI. They can determine on their own which targets.
I think they're still tethered. Even the Air Force is a little hesitant to give it autonomous when it comes to targeting. I think they're still tethered to the aircraft itself. But what we're talking about is not a drone that attacks. Like, it's not a drone that attacks a target, meaning, Sonny's driving his pickup truck across the road, and this drone sees the pickup truck and is like, boom, blows the truck up. What it is if something is attacking, if something's attacking the aircraft, those things will defend the aircraft. No different than the fucking flares and all the other electric countermeasures they have.
So the videos I saw were or appeared to be interviews with the CEOs of these companies. Mm-hmm. And when I forwarded them, I think I sent them to you this morning, I sent them to Josh. Josh said, man, we should look that up and see what those stocks are trading at right now, because that's a company to invest in.
In theory.
Correct.
Because
if it's even real.
Yeah, again, there's a lot of like, there's a lot of technology that gets thrown around that people say is going to be the saving grace, and then in the end, nobody uses it because it doesn't really work the way you think it's going to work, and there's not really an advantage to it. Drones are going to be a part of warfare for a minute until we figure out the workaround. Right? That's all anybody's doing right now is they're figuring out the workaround on how to make drones irrelevant.
Well, it's simple. You just fucking EMP everything in that area.
Well, the problem, the same, because again,
I know.
Because again, the Russians have jamming technology. We have jamming technology. There are places where you cannot fly drones, but you can't fly your drones either.
Correct.
And so that's the problem.
Your
with
comm
that.
ceased to work as well.
That's the problem with that is you can't really EMP the battlefield because then you EMP your own shit.
I met some dudes, some SF guys, and he'd said, I was in a convoy, and we had these A6 intruders that would come over, and they would fry all of the communication devices. Well, they also fried our communication devices at the same time. And he said, as we're coming through in this convoy, the Humvee in front of us hits an IED, and it fucking blows it up, flips it upside down into this hole. And it said that the blast had hit their Humvee so much so, and they rear-ended the other one. And it ended up, the driver, I think it was the driver, it collapsed his legs up into his body, and the guy's screaming, tourniquet me, and there was no blood coming out because he was pinned. But he said, when we called for medical assistance, when we called for evac, and we called for, rescue, none of our shit worked. That A6 that had gone over and fried everything, it also fried all of our shit. And we were supposed to be hardened against it. Well, but none of our shit. This was like early Iraq.
We're way past that now. I mean, even when I was in Iraq, we had systems that were in the Humvee that took up the whole back of the Humvee. I can't remember what they called those damn things. But same thing, you turn them on and be like, boo. And it was to jam any frequencies so they couldn't use command detonated or which is weird because even during 20 years earlier, the Navy had a device that they could turn on that would detonate them. I always thought that was the better idea. That instead of blocking the signal to the thing,
right.
why don't you just identify the signal to the thing and just start blowing them up?
Yeah.
Right, because then you don't have to worry about them. Whereas if all I'm doing when I drive by is block that signal,
it's just waiting for the next.
It's waiting for the next guy. Yeah. It's kind of the same thing I look at.
Whereas if you blow them, you might take one of the fucking bad guys with it.
It's like the thing I talk about with drones all the time, and I don't know why we're not all doing this. Is
kill the handler.
Yeah, kill the handler. Stop fucking around with trying to shoot drones down with shotguns and all that stupid shit. All it is a counter battery firing mission that we do all the time now anyways. Identify the signal. Once you identify that signal, you can identify the location and then just fucking blow the location up. Stop worrying about the fucking drones. One dude.
What's that sniper hunter system they had on the Humvees and shit? When,
I don't
when
remember.
a shot, it would gun towards. I'm
guns
sure
toward-
they have something like that.
Well,
For
for
drones.
whatever reason, nobody's doing it. Nobody is because one handler could have 1,000 drones.
Dude, I don't have a sophisticated military drone, but we were standing at a cemetery in Nashville, and my shit wouldn't take off above 3 feet. And later that day, we found it's because Obama was somewhere in Nashville. They jammed fucking everything. Nothing flew that day.
Yeah, well, my thing is killing. You got to start killing the handlers. Once you start killing the handlers, what'll happen is because it's already happening in Ukraine. Is they're using fiber optics
Yeah,
to run them, so you
mile.
can't. Yeah, so you can't 4 miles, so you can't identify it. But fiber optics is good for a line of sight target, but it's terrible for if I'm in the fucking woods,
Yeah, if you
right?
gotta
Because you
maneuver
got to
on
fucking
trees and
maneuver and shit.
shit,
That'll cut that line, and your thing goes flying off into the woods. That's why the tow missile doesn't use fiber optics anymore, because the lines would get cut and the fucking missile would shoot off into fucking no man's land. So there's ways to do it. And maybe there's some fucking secret lab where they're trying to figure it out right now, but I don't know why that's not the priority. Because again, most of these people who are especially, I don't know on the Russian side because you don't get Russian news, but from a Ukrainian side of the house, most of these guys that are flying these fucking drones that are actually doing the missions, they are very drone specific, very qualified specific.
Yeah, it's
It'd
going
be
to be
very
MLS.
hard to replace them.
Same in Israel.
Yeah, very hard to replace them.
Russian Times seems to have better fucking news from around the world than fucking our news has. Like, you want to know?
Ours is all propaganda anyways. It's all bought, paid for.
Theirs is
already.
all paid for too, but I mean, if I'm going to listen to fucking some of our shit, I want to see what Russian Times says about the same incident.
Yeah,
Somewhere in the middle
you
is
have to
gonna be-
compare somewhere in the middle and see what we're talking about to make
All
it
right,
work.
that's episode what, 118?
Man, that was 2 hours.
118, guys. We're going to wrap this up. Do question and answer for Patreon. We will see you guys next week.